Our topic of discussion is risk and return. This is the second part of risk and return. In the first part, we have discussed the meaning of risk and return and measuring risk and return of a single asset. And now we are moving to learn risk and return of a portfolio. In risk and return of a portfolio, first we will learn to measure the expected return of a portfolio. The expected return of a portfolio is the anticipated amount of returns that a portfolio may generate. In portfolio analysis, the return of a portfolio are the sum of each potential return multiplied by its probability of occurrence. To calculate the expected return of a portfolio, we need to know the expected return and weight of each security. Then multiplying each security weight with the expected return and then adding up all those figures at the end. Fine. When there are a number of securities, we apply the second one formula to calculate the expected return of a portfolio. Next is portfolio risk. Portfolio risk reflects the overall risk for a portfolio of investments. It is the combined risk of each individual investment within a portfolio. The major risks a portfolio will face are systematic and unsystematic risk. Systematic risks are uncontrollable, whereas unsystematic risks are those which can be controlled. Systematic risk is further divided into market risk, interest rate risk, liquidity risk, default risk, and real estate risk, whereas business risk and financial risk comes under unsystematic risk. Let us understand these risks in detail. First is systematic risk. Systematic risk refers to the risk inherent to the entire market or market segment. Systematic risk, also known as undiversifiable risk, volatility, or market risk. Systematic risk affects the overall market, not just a particular stock or industry. Fine. This type of risk is both unpredictable and impossible to completely avoid. It cannot be reduced through diversification but only through hedging or by using the correct asset allocation strategy. Now let's move to components of systematic risk. First is market risk. When an investor experiencing losses due to factors that affect the overall performance of the financial market is known as market risk. This include recession, political instability, changes in interest rate, natural disasters, and terrorist attacks, etc. Market risk tends to influence the entire market at the same time. Fine. Now next is interest rate risk. Interest rate risk may be defined as a fluctuation in the market price of fixed income securities due to changes in the level of interest rate. For example, when interest rate rise, bond price falls and vice versa. The degree of fluctuation in the market price depends firstly on the amount of change in interest rate and second on the degree of fluctuation in the length of period of maturity. Longer period will have a higher price sensitivity. Fine. Next, under systematic risk is liquidity risk. Liquidity refers to the ease with which an asset or security can be converted into ready cash without affecting its market price. When an investor acquires an asset, he expects that investment will mature and that it could be sold to someone else. In either case, the investor expects to be able to convert the security into cash and use the proceeds for current consumption or other investment. The more difficult it is to make this conversion, the greater will be the liquidity risk. Fine. Next is default risk. Default risk is the risk that a lender takes on in the chance that a borrower will be unable to make the required payments on their debt obligation. A higher level of default risk leads to higher required return and in turn a higher interest rate. Fine. Next is real estate risk. Possibility of financial loss occurring as a result of owning real estate investment. When we invest in any property, there are risk of fire or theft, loss of rental income, purchasing property with the imperfect title. These are all real estate risk. Fine. Next is unsystematic risk. So, unsystematic risk is the risk that is inherent in a specific company or industry. By investing in a large range of companies or industries, unsystematic risk can be drastically reduced through diversification. This is also known as non systematic, specific, diversifiable, and residual risk. Fine. Components of unsystematic risk are business risk and financial risk. First, let us understand business risk. In business, any loss occurred because of operational activities are known as business risk. Business risk arises because of uncertainties inherent in the businesses, such as competition, change in customer taste and preferences, input cost, uh, change in government policies, and so on. While a company may not be able to shelter itself from risk completely, but there are ways it can help to protect itself from the effect of business risk. Fine. Next is financial risk. Financial risk is a direct result of firm's financing decision. Our financial risk depends upon the proportion of borrowed fund in the company's capital structure and the variability of revenues. If the situation gets worse, the firm will not be able to meet interest payment and repayment of principal amount. Therefore, through the use of debt, financial risk of the business increases, causing more and more interest payment and thereby reducing the profit. The financial risk is a avoidable risk to the extent that management have the freedom to decide to borrow and not to borrow the fund. The firm with no debt financing can have zero financial risk. Fine. Now, how to calculate portfolio risk? Portfolio risk reflects the overall risk of investments. It is the combined risk of each individual investment within a portfolio. These risks need to be managed to ensure portfolio meets its objective. Risk of portfolio is governed by covariance, that is the relationship of change in returns of the two securities in a portfolio. So we have portfolio variance formula for calculating portfolio risk, and for this formula we need weights of asset in the portfolio and variance of each assets and correlation between the two assets. Coefficient of correlation, which measures the co-movement of return of securities in a portfolio, can have values from -1 to +1. Plus one value shows a perfect positive correlation, and returns from securities tend to move together as a result of common risk. If coefficient of correlation is 0, the return are uncorrelated, and minus coefficient of correlation shows a perfect negative correlation, and returns from securities tends to move in opposite direction. And this formula indicates that by combining negatively correlated asset, the overall variability of return, that is portfolio risk, can be reduced. And second is smaller coefficient of correlation will tend to greater risk reduction. Fine. Our last topic of risk and return analysis is capital asset pricing model. Capital asset pricing model is one of the most important model of the relationship between risk and return. This model was developed by William Sharp and John Linter. Based on two parameters of risk and return, capital asset pricing model helps investors to identify assets to be included in their portfolio. This method assists the investors in identifying the risk for which they should demand premium. It also helps in knowing what return to expect from a security. This model is based on following assumptions. First is capital asset pricing model assumes only two parameters of investment in securities, that is risk and return. Fine. And next is perfect capital market. Investors can buy and sell securities at market price without incurring any tax or transaction cost. Next assumption of capital asset pricing model is efficient portfolio. That means investors own only efficient portfolios which yield the maximum expected return. Fine. Next is homogeneous expectation. Investors have homogeneous expectation regarding the risk, correlation, and expected return of securities. Next is identical holding period. Identical means same. Investment decisions are based on assumption of identical holding period by investors. Next is risk-free rate. Investors can borrow the required fund at the risk-free rate of interest. Fine. So, what CAPM model says? CAPM model shows that the expected rate of return of return of a security in a portfolio consists of two parts, that is risk-free interest rate and risk premium. Risk-free interest rate is the reward for waiting, that means return with zero risk, and risk premium is the reward for undertaking systematic risk. For example, investment in government bond is purely a reward for waiting, as returns are almost 100% assured. On the other hand, for investment in shares of a company, an investor will demand risk premium for bearing systematic risk. Fine. Risk premium is equal to the difference between the expected market return plus risk free in market rate multiplied by beta factor. Beta factor is the index of measurement of systematic risk. It means risk contribution of an individual security towards the total portfolio risk. If beta is greater than 1, that means systematic risk of a security is more than the market risk as a whole. And if beta is less than 1, then security has less systematic risk than the market risk as a whole. Therefore, CAPM model can be expressed as expected return is equal to risk-free return plus risk premium. Fine. Typically, CAPM model can be expressed as rate of return on risk-free asset plus beta multiplied by expected rate of return on market portfolio minus rate of return on risk-free asset. Fine.